Hi, I'm Michael Zhang, and this is the story of how my brother's attempt to hide my embarrassing restaurant from his elite clients led to an unexpected twist that changed both our lives forever. Sometimes the things people look down on turn out to be their biggest mistakes. Growing up in San Francisco's bustling Chinatown, food was always at the heart of our family. Our parents ran a small noodle shop, working 16 hours a day to put my brother Kevin and me through school. Kevin went to culinary school in Paris, dreaming of Michelin stars and elite clientele. I stayed home, learning our grandmother's recipes and helping in the family shop. "You're wasting your potential," Kevin would say during his rare visits home. "Street food will always be street food." But I saw something in those humble recipes that others didn't. After our parents retired, I transformed their noodle shop into Heritage Kitchen. We served street food, yes, but with a twist. Each dish told a story of our family's journey, of immigrants who carried their flavors across oceans. While Kevin worked his way up through five-star restaurants, eventually opening his own upscale establishment, Maison K, in Nob Hill, I experimented with our grandmother's recipes. I created tasting menus that combined street food techniques with premium ingredients, each dish paired with a story from our family's history. Our parents were proud of both of us, but they preferred eating at my restaurant. "It tastes like home," Mom would say, making Kevin frown. Then came the dinner that changed everything. Kevin was hosting a private event for Silicon Valley executives and their celebrity guests. Mom insisted he invite me. "Fine," he sighed. "But please, Michael, wear something proper. And don't mention your establishment." I arrived at Maison K wearing my best suit, feeling out of place among the designer dresses and custom tuxedos. Kevin was working the room, charming his elite clientele with tales of his training in Paris. "And your brother?" a famous actress asked Kevin, having overheard we were family. "Is he in the culinary world too?" Kevin's smile tightened. "Oh, Michael, he's exploring other opportunities." "Actually," I started to say, but Kevin cut me off. "Let's not bore everyone with that," he laughed nervously. "It's rather embarrassing, really. Just a street food place in Chinatown. Nothing like what we do here." The actress, Claire Montgomery, America's sweetheart and known food enthusiast, raised an eyebrow. "Street food? In Chinatown?" "Heritage Kitchen," I said quietly, ignoring Kevin's glare. "We specialize in traditional Chinese street food with a modern twist." "How fascinating." Claire leaned forward, genuinely interested. "I love authentic street food. The real stories, the real flavors." Kevin quickly steered the conversation back to his latest truffle-infused creation, but I noticed Claire glancing at me thoughtfully throughout dinner. Later that night, Kevin pulled me aside. "What were you thinking? These people are here for fine dining, not some street food story. Our food has value, Kevin. Our story has value." "Story?" he scoffed. "I'd built my reputation on excellence, not sentimental stories about grandmother's cooking. Do you know how embarrassing it is to have my brother running a glorified food truck menu?" I left early, his words stinging more than I wanted to admit. But as I walked through my quiet restaurant that night, looking at the family photos on the walls and the worn recipe book our grandmother had passed down, I felt a strange sense of calm. What Kevin didn't know was that I had spent years developing something special, a secret tasting menu called The Immigrant's Journey. 20 courses, each telling part of our family's story through food. Premium ingredients meeting street food techniques, tradition meeting innovation. I'd never advertised it, It was only for those who understood the value of such stories. At $15,000 per table, it was as expensive as any fine dining experience in the city. But it wasn't about the money. It was about honoring our heritage while pushing culinary boundaries. As I locked up that night, my phone buzzed with a message request on Instagram. The verified account made me pause. At Claire Montgomery, your brother wouldn't give me your contact info, but I found you. That conversation about street food made me curious. Would love to experience your restaurant's real story. Is tomorrow available? I smiled as I typed my response, thinking about Kevin's dismissive words. Tomorrow would bring changes that none of them saw coming. After all, sometimes the best stories are the ones people try to silence. The next morning, I arrived at Heritage Kitchen earlier than usual. My team and I spent hours preparing for what would become the most important service of our lives. As I carefully laid out grandmother's recipe book, my phone buzzed with angry messages from Kevin. How dare you DM Claire? She's my client. Do you know how this makes me look? I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on preparing the first course of the immigrant's journey. A single xiaolongbao dumpling served on grandmother's antique spoon, the only possession she managed to bring from China. At 7 p.m. sharp, Claire Montgomery arrived, not alone, but with her entire production team. They were in San Francisco filming her new cooking documentary series. Hope you don't mind, she smiled, gesturing to the cameras. When you mentioned your family story last night, I knew it was exactly what we've been looking for. Real food, real stories. Kevin burst through the door moments later, face flushed. Claire, there must be some mistake. If you're looking for authentic Chinese cuisine, Maison K has a wonderful Asian fusion menu. Kevin, Claire cut him off politely. I've had enough fusion. Tonight, I want to hear your family's real story. What followed was a 4-hour journey through our family's history, told through 20 meticulously crafted courses. Each dish came with a story, a memory, a piece of our heritage. The first course, that single xiaolongbao, brought tears to Claire's eyes as I explained how grandmother used to make them on her precious spoon during the hard early days in America. One dumpling at a time, I explained, she built a new life. Course after course, the cameras rolled as Claire and her team experienced our family's journey. The twice-cooked pork belly, prepared according to grandmother's secret recipe, but served with 25-year-aged black vinegar. The hand-pulled noodles, made with specialty wheat from the same province our family came from. Kevin stood in the corner, watching as his celebrity client became increasingly enchanted with each dish and story. His perfectly curated image of fine dining was being overshadowed by the authenticity he tried so hard to hide. The final course was a modern interpretation of the simple noodle soup our parents had served in their shop. Handmade noodles in a 48-hour bone broth, topped with a 5 Wagyu beef and century-old pure tea leaves. But it was served in the chipped bowls our parents had used for years. A reminder of where we came from. This, Claire announced to the cameras, wiping tears from her eyes, is what real cooking is about. Not just technique or premium ingredients, but heart, story, heritage. Then she turned to me. Michael, would you be interested in being the first featured chef in our new series? We want to showcase chefs who are preserving cultural heritage through food. Kevin's face went pale. But what about Maison K? We discussed. Kevin, Claire said gently, your restaurant is beautiful, and your technique is impeccable. But this is what audiences are hungry for. Authenticity. Real stories. The next morning, the food world exploded. Claire posted about her experience, calling it the most meaningful meal of my life. The $15,000 tasting menu was booked solid for the next year. Food critics who had ignored us in favor of trendy fusion restaurants suddenly couldn't wait to experience the immigrant's journey. Kevin showed up at Heritage Kitchen 3 days later during prep time. He stood awkwardly in the kitchen, watching as I taught my staff grandmother's technique for folding dumplings. "I was wrong," he finally said, voice cracking. I was so focused on proving myself to the fine dining world that I forgot what made our family's food special in the first place. "It's not too late to remember," I replied, handing him a dumpling wrapper. Today, 2 years later, Heritage Kitchen has 3 Michelin stars. Not that we needed them. Kevin closed Maison K and opened a new restaurant next door to mine, called Remember. He serves elevated versions of our parents' original noodle shop menu, finally embracing his heritage. Claire's documentary series, Hidden Kitchens, became a global hit. Our episode, which told the story of 2 brothers taking different paths to honor the same heritage, won an Emmy. Last week, during a rare quiet moment, Kevin and I sat in my kitchen after hours, eating simple noodle soup from our parents' chipped bowls. "Remember when you called this place embarrassing?" I asked. He laughed, but his eyes were serious. I was embarrassed of myself, really, of thinking I had to erase our history to be successful. The old recipe book sits proudly displayed in both our restaurants now, and grandmother's spoon still serves the first course of the immigrant's journey. But the most valuable thing being served is the reminder that success isn't about hiding who you are. It's about having the courage to share your authentic story with the world. As for that infamous dinner where Kevin tried to hide my embarrassing restaurant, we recreated it for the documentary's finale, this time with both brothers proudly telling their shared story. Sometimes, the things people try to hide become the very things that set them free. Mom and Dad still prefer eating at my place, but now they split their time between both restaurants, proud that their sons finally understood what they knew all along, that the most precious ingredient in any dish is the heritage it carries. And that worn recipe book? It's being published next month, featuring dishes and stories from both Heritage Kitchen and Remember. Because sometimes, the most powerful way to move forward is to remember where you came from, even if some people need a $15,000 tasting menu to help them see it.